Okay, so here's the thing. We have been working on a product for a long time, and we have made something better. One of our, it might be our most popular, but one of our most popular toys, we felt could use an upgrade. We got some feedback. A lot of different people have been using it for us. We've been working on this thing. It's surprising how long change takes. Like, when you're trying to make forward progression with something like a dog training product.
Yep.
And boy, oh boy, are we excited to announce. Now, if you're on the live show, you're the first people to know that we're actually doing this, because I don't even think they've announced this to our in-person classes tonight.
Cool.
But I want to present to you, which is available live on our store as of 16 minutes ago, our brand new Puppy Tug. This
looks
is basically
fabulous.
Puppy Tug 2.0. Now, this is one of our most popular toys on our store. We sell so many of these things every single day. We ship them all over the world. But what we've done, so this actually took a long time. So we added an extra braid of fleece. It might not sound like much, but what you get is a stronger tug that you can use with your puppy. We heard from a lot of people like, oh, my puppy's getting bigger and stronger. I'm worried that something's going to happen to your Puppy Tug. An extra braid of fleece here so that the Puppy Tug actually can age up with your puppy. However, our challenge, the thing we sort of worked on and struggled with a little bit, was keeping it just as soft and enticing for your teeny toy breed all the way up to your...
You want them to be able to bite into it very easily so that it promotes motivation
100%.
and confidence.
Absolutely. And to keep it enticing, like using a quality of fleece with an extra braid that keeps it just as fun and exciting for the puppy.
You gotta
to
have the
chase around.
danglers on there.
The nice part is we have access to so many puppies that we can test this with and figure out what works best. But
it's my favorite recall training toy.
100%, absolutely, because it's so simple and the dogs
it's
just
long,
love it.
so if you have a small puppy, you can drag it along the ground without bending over. Yep, you can towel off after a shower.
I'm super pumped about
Can
this.
I hold it?
I think you're gonna love this toy. And anyway, it's available on the store right now. You are the first people to find out about it. Super beneficial if you have a puppy, to engage your puppy in training. Excited to share that.
Love
with
it.
you guys.
Do we get to keep this one for ourselves?
Yes, we do.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay, so
we just need a puppy.
We do, I know.
Just kidding, I don't want a puppy.
I think Sam may have dropped the link in the chat, and it should be available underneath this thing, just in case you want to grab yours before the end of the show. Okay, we need to dive into the 6 common puppy training mistakes that new dog owners make. And the first thing that we're going to address or talk about are the 3 Ps. Now, you might be saying to yourself, what are the 3 Ps of puppy training that I need to be thinking about?
Puppy.
So that I can avoid making mistakes. Ooh. So let me just bring this over. Okay, so Kayl, we're going to watch this, and we're going to dive in a little bit.
Oh, look how long my hoodie strings are.
You know what? Before we get any farther, we should answer Bill's super chat.
Yes,
let's go back.
Should.
So Bill said,
should you take this off the
thank you for the super chat,
midget?
Bill. Yeah. Hold on one sec. See if I can do this. Oh.
That looks like
that's fun.
That looks like Betsy in the train.
Bill, super chat asked, love the channel. Do dogs get bored with their owners training them? Sometimes I feel it's a real struggle keeping her focus with a 14-week-old puppy.
Do dogs get bored with their owners training them? The short answer is no, they shouldn't. But something that you should understand, especially with a 14-week-old puppy, is they're sort of at that puppy phase where they're not following us around naturally anymore, because they're sort of like getting out of that baby puppy phase and starting to get more curious and more distractible. Their attention span is usually pretty short. So sometimes we have to really think about how we're actually training them, that we're not overdoing it to the point where the puppy's like, oh, okay, I've had enough of this. Right. That we're keeping our training sessions short and sweet. We're also bringing a lot of variety into our training so that we're able to mix and mingle through our different types of training, whether it's combining something really active like recall training or things that involve play versus things that are a little bit more brainy, like problem solving and more obedience style skills, emotional control types of things. But with a 14-week-old puppy, you want to really keep things short and sweet. The other thing too is because they're so young and they wouldn't have had a lot of experienced yet, that's still a phase where you want to try and keep whatever training, wherever you happen to be training your puppy or practicing with your puppy, that you're keeping the environment very controlled. So I wouldn't be trying to train my 14-week-old puppy where I'm having to compete a lot of outside distractions or environmental distractions or whatever it might be, because that could lead to my puppy being disengaged simply because there's other things to pay attention to. So again, short answer, no, they shouldn't be getting bored. But if you do find your puppy's getting bored, it could be that you're not using the right motivators. It could be that you're not setting the scenario up to enhance the dog's focus. And perhaps you need to think about what you're actually doing with the puppy, ensuring that it's actually both motivating and engaging, so that your puppy says, I like this. I like this doing things for you type of thing.
Yeah.
Those are all things that we do in our Puppy Essentials programs.
Well, and that's the big focus. To kind of summarize a lot of that, the focus is about motivation and success. Right. That's really where your attention should be.
It's a good
question,
though.
Yeah, great question. Okay, let's dive in to the 3 Ps. You got enough
you go
headphone
first.
cord here? Okay. We won't do the fancy transition on this one.
Okay.
A lot of people think that puppies should just get it after just a few training sessions. But really, the success lies once you learn how to implement the 3 Ps. That's proof, practice, and prepare. So let's break down how these 3 steps can truly transform your training.
Let's start with prepare, and we'll use something like teaching your puppy to respond to their name as an example. So prepare means that you're going to be prepared.
Change there.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Makeup?
To ensure that your puppy is going to turn and respond to their name every time that you call it in the beginning stages of their training. And this is a common mistake that people often make, is they start to use their puppy's name in all kinds of different scenarios, and they repeat it over and over without actually expecting.
Something that came up the other day, I forget, I think I was actually talking to our studio manager, Dan, lots of links, who's sadly not here with us tonight.
In puppy class.
Yeah, he is. He's in puppy class with his own dog right now. But we were talking about how through conversation with people, we're really noticing that people are actually not necessarily knowing that they should be setting aside time to actually train things like response to name. So if you saw that last shot of me throwing a little cookie out to that little border collie puppy that we were using,
to move towards
and then calling her back, rather than trying to train her to what her name is by using it in everyday scenarios and hoping that she listens, we're actually taking time to prepare her to know what to do by setting up a training scenario. So when she's hearing her name, she's actually hearing it in a situation where it's almost impossible for her to be wrong. And that is what builds such a great response and so much value for the name, because I'm actually setting intentional training sessions aside, short and sweet, as kind of what we mentioned with our super chat comment a little while ago. But I think a lot of people don't realize how valuable it is to just take, even if it's a few minutes, you don't even have to carve out a lot of time in your day, but to actually intentionally train things so that the dog's actually learning to do it well. And just through conversation, we're realizing that we do that because we're dog trainers and that's what we know to do, but the average person doesn't do that a lot.
Yeah, it's so true.
And that weakens their dog's listening skills because they're not actually intentionally focusing on it.
Yeah, great.
Every time. We recommend that when you're teaching this, that you set your puppy up to be successful by making sure that anytime you're going to use their name, you're always prepared to back it up with some type of lure or
So that was like Puppy Tug V.5.
I know.
Like as we were building up material.
a reward, food, toy that's going to ensure that they turn towards you. And they need several weeks of practicing name followed automatically by some type of lure to encourage them to turn towards us. That's going to make their name much more valuable, and it's also going to start teaching a really reliable response right from the beginning. Once your puppy has a good understanding of that skill, you're going to need to move into the proofing phase. And this is where things get really fun, because we want to make sure that our puppies learn to respond to their name even around distractions without having that food or treat on their nose. They need to be able to turn away from other dogs and people, things in your home.
For a second again. So what's happening with this? So on the previous section, what we were trying to reiterate with you is setting an intentional training session up so that it's very hard for your puppy to be wrong. So I was practicing with that last puppy in the kitchen. I had treats ready. I had my leash on. I had moved all of the distractions out of the way so the puppy could be very successful. Now we're moving into the proofing phase. And in this clip that we're showing you with Ken and a little puppy named Smooch, Ken's actually waiting until Smooch is distracted before he calls. So he's raising the possibility of the puppy making an error, but he still has the leash on, and we're still prepared to either reward for good choices or to correct bad choices. And with a puppy at this age, the correct bad choices would simply be going back a step to helping him be successful, either by giving him a little touch to get him to turn, maybe showing him some treats to get him to turn. But with the McCann method of training, our goal is to start off with lots of showing and helping and helping the dog to be successful, but then moving to a level of training where we don't require to have treats all the time. We don't require the need to have a leash on all of the time. But I think what happens is a lot of people skip all of these phases and they don't do as much initial training as they should be, and then they try to take the show on the road. They don't have treats, they don't have a leash, they don't have those things, they haven't proved anything. And so now we have a dog that doesn't actually know the skill, but we're like trying to use it out in the wild, and then we're frustrated as to why the dog doesn't listen. So that's why the 3 Ps are so important. Practicing it, proofing it. We're going to get to all of the different phases, but I just wanted to highlight Ken's doing it rather fast in the clip, so it's kind of hard to see, but you'll notice he's letting the puppy get distracted and then he's calling it. But this puppy has already had so much repetition of the last phase that you saw me do with the red and white puppy, that he says, "Whoo, there's that name, I like that," and then he turns back.
That's a really important thing for you to remember at home, is that the amount of repetition before we make things harder.
That's right. So the puppy is ready to be in this new scenario.
Absolutely.
We wouldn't take a puppy that hadn't had the previous, stage of training and plop them in a busy place or a park with lots of dogs around or wherever it might be. We would say, okay, we see that this puppy has a pretty good idea of what the expectation is. Now we're going to go and try and make it a little bit harder, versus just plopping them in the scenario and hoping for the best.
So proofing that's going to be really important. Now, in order to get into that phase, though, they need hundreds of repetitions of doing it right before we start to make it harder. The other thing to keep in mind when you go into the proofing phase is that you need to be ready to know what to do if your puppy makes a mistake. And that circles back to our proactive and our reactive training. If your puppy doesn't respond to their name, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep calling it over and over again and start to allow that command to weaken? Or are you going to have a backup plan? Are you going to have your puppy on a leash or a line? Or are you going to go back to using some food and toys a little longer to ensure that you have a really reliable response each and every time? And next comes practice. Now, there's a common saying out there that practice makes perfect, but we like the saying perfect practice makes perfect. And this is really important in dog training because dogs learn through repetitions, and it's best if they learn through repetitions of success. So our goal is to practice it as many times as we can. The other thing that's important to note about practicing is where you practice. Make sure that you're not just practicing in the
I want to give you sort of a bigger picture example of perfect practice makes perfect. And that is the example of like walking on leash, for example. This is one that a lot of people struggle with. And, they'll take their dog or puppy, old enough puppy for walking, walks around the neighborhood. And every day they practice their walk around the neighborhood, but the dog is, pulling on the leash sometimes or all the times. They're barking at the neighbor's dog as they walk by. They're constantly trying to pick things up off the ground. And the person's trying to train through this, but it's not successful. And then later that day, they go out on their walk again because they think they're supposed to walk the puppy. And then the next day, they repeat it again. So they're practicing their walking, but 80, 90% of the walk is actually not going very well, whether it's us telling the dog they're wrong or we're telling leave it, or the dog's pulling on the leash. So even though the intention's good, the intention is I'm going out and I'm walking my dog and I'm practicing, the actual performance of what's happening is not going very well. So we have to be careful about that because dogs learn through rehearsal and through repetition. Whether that repetition is really great or really bad, it's still the behavior is still being learned. Yeah. And that's why some behaviors in dog training are so challenging and difficult, is because they can learn bad behavior so quickly without somebody even noticing, because we're allowing that rehearsal to happen. So that's sort of the big picture of the perfect practice makes perfect, or the importance of practicing. If your dog is struggling with something, one of the best things you can do is stop the rehearsal of it happening poorly and figure out how to change the scenario so that you can practice it. And if that means you take several steps back in your training or your progression or your expectation, then that's maybe what it's going to take in order to achieve whatever your long-term goal might be.
I really love this, especially for you as a new dog owner, a new puppy owner. This is it's so important, is it really understanding that you're getting success, that you're getting some reliability before you make things harder. And, you know, challenges are going to come up. You're going to discover that maybe you move too quickly. That's not a big deal. You take a big step back and you repeat and rehearse the stuff that's working.
Yeah.
I love that. That's good, really simple, actionable information for you at home.
And I want to remind everybody that the stuff that Ken and I are going to cover tonight it's sort of a little bit general, which is sometimes hard for people to understand. But if you really listen, it's going to solve so many problems, because we're sort of giving you guys formulas here. Yeah. And, something that I just used as walking as an example, well, it could be spun for recall training. It could be spun for jumping up. It could be spun around for nipping and biting or whatever your unwanted behavior is. So remember, when you're listening to these deep dive train stations that we do, sometimes we'll give an answer and they'll say, well, what happens if my dog's jumping up? It's the same answer.
Yep. Yeah, but what if this is a golden?
Yeah, or what if this is a golden retriever?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Try to think big picture. It can be difficult if you're a new person, but if you listen to this stuff over and over and over again, and you think big picture, you're going to get like a kabillion golden nuggets. Oh my God.
I don't know if a kabillion isn't about.
I know, that's a lot. Maybe we're like overdoing
maybe
it. But anyways,
five,
I just
but
want to
really
remind you
nuggets.
about the big picture thinking.
Yeah, that's great.
Kitchen or in one room at your house, make sure that you're changing the scenery a little bit for your puppy, working all the way up to being able to work at the park. Now, this formula is going to be applied to anything that you teach your puppy to do.
So what I'm showing in this video here is doing the same types of exercises, but I'm practicing with the puppy in lots of different locations in my house. So I'm practicing in the living room where there's not much going on, and then you see me on the deck practicing there where there's birds and squirrels and people walking by, but it's in a more controlled environment. That's proofing my puppy and teaching them that my expectations don't change if I'm in a new location, but rather than just, giving her something that's not achievable, I'm practicing something that we just did in the kitchen or the living room, and then we immediately go somewhere different. So she's just had a lot of repetitions, she's been rewarded, she's engaged, she's interested, and then I make it a little bit more challenging, and the likelihood of her going out onto the deck and acing it is much higher because I'm preparing her to do so.
Amazing. Okay, on to the number 2. Now, this is going to be especially difficult if you have kids or if you have other pets in your home. This does increase the challenge a little bit. So, number 1 big mistake is people moving too quickly through the skills, challenging their dog too much. This one is an important one to remember. This is one we often suggest. Big picture for your dog's focus and attention on you, but also making training easier for yourself, because, if you remove distractions from your training environment, your life gets a whole lot easier and it starts to make more sense for your dog.
If your puppy ignores you the second something more exciting comes around, don't worry, it's not stubbornness, it's actually just a training gap. Here's how to train your puppy how to focus even around distractions.
Now, you can see that actually little Popcorn here is really distracted by the things that are on top of the crate. And one of the assumptions that people make is, in this moment, my dog is not food motivated. They say, oh, I tried food and my dog didn't really care. First things first, Popcorn's an 8-week-old puppy. He doesn't know anything. His attention span is like this long and this far. So, A, limiting his ability to get to those things is going to make a big difference. B, maybe changing the food that I'm using can make a little bit of a difference. And then C, also changing a little bit of the environment. Where'd you go, buddy? I'm actually going to take those toys, I'm going to put them somewhere else so they are a lot less distracting to him. So I'm going to throw those around the corner out of his sight. And now all he sees is that GoPro camera that he really wants to go and see. Now, the other thing I have on top of there is I have a slightly different treat. This is actually Popcorn's food. When you're using food, good boy, buddy, for training,
Likes those treats.
it doesn't always have to be the high value treats. I tend to start with their food and see if that works. And if that doesn't work, then I might bring up my game a little bit and try something a little bit more potent or something with a little bit more smell. So I've got some of those right here. Yes, good boy, excellent. Now, you see this change that just happened. I removed the interesting things. Where's Popcorn's focus now? He's right on me. It's part of the point of this food. It allows me to get that focus really quickly.
Just to sort of, add on to what Steve just said is what was sort of happening. You can leave it there. What was sort of happening behind the scenes there, Steve, if you were watching, what I was doing as I was watching this clip is I was watching the puppy's behavior, and it was jumping and really disengaged and sort of not really paying attention to Steve. As soon as Steve removed the distractions and Popcorn started to figure out that the reward had been changed to Steve holding it, what you actually saw Popcorn do is stop for a second and offer a sit. Steve never told the puppy to sit. Yeah. That puppy went, we've done a few of these things before. And he offered to sit and look at Steve. Well, Steve wasn't paying attention. And then Steve, being a good dog trainer, is rewarding the puppy. And that's a really, really important thing that you should be on the lookout for your puppy. Sometimes when your puppy offers great behaviors, you want to be ready and prepared to reinforce your puppy quickly. And sometimes it's easier to get those distractions or get those offerings when you minimize the distraction that is around you until the puppy is ready. That puppy's not ready to be doing focused work with distractions all around it yet. So if we remove those things and we keep reinforcing the great focus without the distractions, then we can start to bring in the toys and the GoPro and the treats on the side and all of those different things. So I just wanted to highlight what was happening behind the scenes there, because that's, people would say, oh, your puppies are so trained in all the videos. Well, it's because we know what to look for and we know how to reinforce things quickly. You reward that puppy for offering a sit 2 or 3 times, and that it's just going to keep doing it over and over and over again. It's really not rocket science.
No, and that's an important point. You know, not only do you, as dog trainers, we have a little bit better timing. We can anticipate some of the challenges that the puppy might have. We can make sure that we're rewarding the good moments, the good things, and sort of the 3 of those together. When we bring a puppy in for a video, here's the case. When we bring a dog into the studio, or if we go on site somewhere for Kayl to shoot a training video, we can't let the dog anywhere near her, because so often the dog or puppy learns right away whatever the thing is that, you know, we're trying to accomplish, because Kayl's timing is so good. She knows, you know, just where to how to stand, how to reward.
It ruins the shot.
And then we have no video. So, you know, you'll see some of these videos that are, you know, whatever, 10 or 12 minutes long, and we've completely solved a problem. But we've completely solved a problem in that situation between Kayl and that dog. So we understand that for maybe for you at home, you need a little bit more guidance, you need a little bit more repetition, you need a little bit more success. And that's kind of what we offer in our in-person online training.
Totally.
Is we can coach you through some of those challenges for your unique situation, for your dog's unique situation, whether it's temperament or otherwise.
Like sometimes when I'm reading the comments of our videos and we get the, you know, I've tried that, but what happens if like my puppy does this, or whatever the situation might be, I really think that that's the value of actually taking a program where you have instructors monitoring your progress, because every puppy and every dog is a little bit different. They sometimes need different types of motivations. They need different types of communication or handling or timing or whatever it might be. And what happens is when we get to work with you in a program, we get to know you and your dog, and then we can make exact suggestions for what your dog needs in the moment. And then that way, you just start to have a greater appreciation for what you should be doing with them, especially when you're not taking a class with us. You go home and you know how to do it yourself a little bit better, because we've been able to tweak you in the right way for whatever your dog needs.
For sure, yeah. So check out our Puppy Essentials or Life Skills programs. We have them both in person if you're near Waterdown, Ontario, or online. So our friends, I know we actually have lots of Australian students in our online program. So I know some of you guys from Australia. If you're looking for support and coaching, help you to get success faster, make puppy training more fun, that's definitely the place to go.
The classes are just you just have to look at what age your puppy is, because Puppy Essentials and Life Skills are based on the age of dog and what we feel is the most important things to focus on those ages.
We need to talk about freedom. Every time we we have a very popular video that talks about one of the biggest mistakes that people make with their puppy is, and I made this mistake as a new puppy owner before I went to McCann Dogs, before I became a dog trainer, is I underestimated how much trouble a dog can get into, or how bad it can be for a relationship. You know, how much I could teach my dog not to listen to me by giving them too much freedom. So let's talk a little bit about too much
One
freedom.
of the fastest ways to create bad habits giving your puppy too much freedom too early. And this is why supervision is key. So let's talk about how to prevent accidents and destructive behavior before it even starts. I would say that the majority of reasoning behind puppies still having accidents in the house is absolutely lack of supervision. And lots of times people think that they're supervising their puppy, but they're multitasking and they're not really paying attention. If your puppy is still being able to have an accident here and there, it really comes down to you being a better supervisor. And it is important that you're being really, really good at this. And if you are a good supervisor, they might have an accident once or twice in your presence, but if you have great timing, you can catch them, you're going to stop that so quickly. But, supervising means active 2 eyeballs on the puppy. That's what supervision means. It doesn't mean that they're in the same room while you're watching TV or you're talking to your friend on the phone or you're cooking dinner or whatever it might be. If your puppy is, not being actively engaged with you, it's really easy for them to show signs. And, it could be that you're helping your kids with homework or you're talking on the phone and your puppy actually has gone to the door 2 or 3 times. You've completely been oblivious to it because you're busy, and now the puppy's had an accident in front of the door or somewhere in the house, and now you're upset with them. And, maybe they showed you that they had to go outside a little bit earlier. So it is important that you supervise them. And remember, this stuff does not go on for a long period of time. You can get house training really rocking and rolling very, very early, and then you don't need to be quite so crazy about supervising their every single move. But if you don't do it well in the first couple weeks that your puppy is home, it can be really hard to break those habits. It's up to us to kind of show and mold our puppy into how we want them to learn about this. And the number one thing that you need to be good at is supervising them.
Here's the thing, you mentioned this earlier, your puppy is learning all of the time. So whether you're there to be with them and give them good information, stop them from doing the bad things, praise and reward them for doing the great stuff that you're really looking for, they're learning. So if they go and they chew on a shoe, if they go and they poop in your living room, if it feels good, they're going to think it's the right thing. If you're not there in that absence of information, if you're not there to tell them what's right and wrong, they're going to just think that whatever feels good, whatever tastes good is the right thing.
Yeah.
This is why freedom is so important. I can't stress that enough.
Controlling freedom is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, controlling the freedom. It's just so, and it's so simple.
Yeah.
If you use a crate or, a similar way to provide some sort of confinement so that they can't get out into trouble when you aren't able to supervise them, because it's completely unreasonable to think that you can supervise your puppy 24 hours a day. You have things to do.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how anybody survives without the use of a crate.
Well, it's just taking a chance that you don't need to take.
Extra stress.
The amount of stories of dogs getting into something they shouldn't.
Eating things, hurting themselves.
For sure. But even less than the dramatic results like that,
it hurts the relationship too, though, because the dogs just learn to kind of have their own agenda all of the time.
Absolutely.
They learn to be independent, and then they learn that the humans in the house just aren't as important. Where what we recommend and what we do with our own dogs is we control freedom a lot in the early stages, so that anytime the puppy is out of their crate, they're literally doing something with us. It doesn't mean it's always training, though.
Right.
It literally could just be having chill time,
Totally.
where
100%.
I'm snuggling or I'm holding them in my lap and having them chew on a bone. It could be active things, but it also could be really calm things where the puppy's just learning to be, but I'm always with them or monitoring them or paying attention until I feel I can have a level of trust where I can feel comfortable giving them more freedom. And it's not just whether they're going to eat things in the house or go to the bathroom in the house or whatever it might be. It's also how well do they listen.
Yeah.
If they're in the other room, can I call them back to me? Can I stop them from jumping up with just my voice without having to go over them? Will they stop barking the second I ask them to? There's so many things that I use that I want to kind of check off my boxes to say okay, we really have some good listening skills here. Now we're ready to have more freedom. Our dogs that are trained, we don't have to confine them anymore. We don't have to keep a leash on or have treats handy. They just listen. because they want to. But that wasn't something that we did in the early stages. I was going to say something. I can't remember what it is now.
Just envision, what does your life look like when, or your puppy's world look like when every time they come out of their crate, you're there. You're there to have fun with them. You're there to train them. You're there to snuggle them. You're there to exercise them. You're there. So naturally, they're going to look to you for information. They're going to seek you out, or at least look to you for like some sort of guidance, because you've been there to shape that experience. It's a really powerful decision. And maybe you're at home thinking like, oh my God, I've got a 2-year-old dog and this, they're an absolute train wreck. I don't
treat it like a puppy.
Treat them like a puppy. This is exactly what I did with a 2-year-old lab who, I just given her no information. I'd given her all the wrong things. And so we went back to puppy, skills. We went back, she started back in her crate, and it's shocking how quickly you see them start to like turn to you, look to you when you're controlling that interaction. It really makes a difference, and I can't stress enough how important it is to manage some of those freedoms.
It's so funny. You'll often hear us say like, don't treat your dog like a baby. Like, stop treating them like a baby, treat them like a dog. But the one time that you should treat them like a baby is supervision. If you had a baby, I have a niece that's 1.5 years old, and I couldn't fathom leaving her out of my eyesight for a millisecond so that she, couldn't hurt herself or whatever the situation would be. But for some reason, people don't adopt this type of thing with puppies. They get distracted with their kids or whatever. They're not paying attention. And then all of a sudden they go like, oh, my dog's like chewing that thing, or they're upstairs ripping things in the bathroom. Well, why are they up there in the first place? You should have been watching them.
Or their puppy just doesn't care about them, because they can go self-satisfy and go find a chew thing that's like not including you, or like take something and go run away and like just,
Yeah.
It's a really important thing to understand. Okay, so too much freedom. Managing the energy. We have to talk about your strategy for managing the energy.
Mornings can be absolutely chaotic with a young puppy, and if you don't manage their energy early on, it can lead to disaster. So let's talk about how you can make one small change with your morning routine that can make all of the difference in the world.
So you need to get ready for your day and get ready to go to work. So what did you do? Well, you could have done one of two things. Maybe you just popped that puppy into the crate and you went up to have a shower, but we haven't really done as much crate work as we would like. So that puppy's a little chaotic. Maybe they're barking and whining while they're in the crate. Or you didn't put them in the crate and you went up to have a shower, and you're frantically trying to shower as fast as you can because you have no idea what that puppy is doing, what chaos they're causing down in your living room or your kitchen. So what happened? Your dog had the freedom to do whatever they wanted, which, let's face it, in puppy terms, could be anything. It could be they had to go to the bathroom all of a sudden again, so they went in the carpet down in the living room. Or it could be that they discovered the leftover of your breakfast on the table, and they're up there having a great old time. So how can you prevent that mistake from happening?
You can really tell, but she was literally
setting
on
your
the counter.
timetable to help that puppy settle in the mornings especially can be very beneficial. Getting that extra 10 or 15 minutes in the morning to help tire your puppy out and engage them a little bit before you have to get in the shower can make a big difference. So let's say I've set my clock 10 or 15 minutes earlier. We've taken care of the bathroom. We've now fed them. I've saved a little bit of that food, and I'm going to practice a little bit of training. Maybe I teach them to respond to their name for 2 minutes. Maybe I teach them to sit while there's a toy or another person in the house wandering by over there. I can use some skills to engage their brain, get them a little bit tired. That way, when I say, okay, now I need to go shower, I can pop them into that crate. They're much more settled. Their brains are more tired. And I can go shower in peace, not worrying that my house is going to be destroyed.
That singing shot makes me giggle every single time.
None of that was stock footage. That was all created for that video.
Love it.
Okay, so talked about managing your puppy's energy, and I mean, maybe let me know actually, do you have a puppy or a young dog in training that is like completely full of energy? You feel like you're constantly up against it because you just don't know what to do. You don't know how to manage all of that energy, because I know, I talk to a lot of people who say like, yeah, we go for a walk, but it's just not enough. I get home from the walk, then what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to exercise this dog? And then I take him in the house, and it's like I just got him excited about coming back in the house, and a puppy burns around the living room, and now I've got muddy footprints on my wallpaper.
Yeah.
Because I wallpaper my house still. Is that a thing?
We do not wallpaper our house, just so you know.
We don't. Yeah, I know. Do people still do that? I said that.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's like a bit trendy.
Oh, cool.
You can get like quite cool wallpaper.
Oh, yeah. So it sounds, what's that word I'm looking for? Like funky? Is Sounds funky.
You could use funky, yes.
I don't know. Anyway,
We digress.
yeah. Well, you do. I don't. We got to talk about being proactive. We have discussed a little bit. We've touched on some points about being proactive with your puppy training. But this is the difference. This is the difference between being behind, like your puppy making the mistake, your dog making the mistake, and you being ahead of it, so they never get to learn that making that mistake feels good, making that mistake tastes good, whatever the case may be. So we need to talk about a big mistake that new puppy owners make, and that's they're not being proactive.
Oh my, look at that face.
Are you being
I had a little
reactive in
harmony
your
there.
puppy training, or are you actually showing them how to be right from the start?
Look at that.
This is a big one. So we're going to talk about how important it is to be proactive in
Look
your
at all
puppy
the golden
training
fur
and help
on
them
my
to be
sweatshirt.
successful right from the beginning.
We talk a lot on this channel about the importance of setting your puppy up to be successful and not allowing them to rehearse the wrong things over and over again. The next tip you need to know to avoid failure in your puppy training is having a clear understanding between when reactive training is appropriate and when proactive training is appropriate. Let's use the example of somebody coming to your home to talk about proactive and reactive training. Now, when you have a baby
how young
puppy and
he is
somebody's
in
going
that
to come over to your house, do you have a plan in place? What are you going to have happen? Are you just going to let somebody knock on the door and see what happens? It's much smarter to be more proactive, which means you're going to anticipate a possible problem or anticipate a possible win and be ready to either prevent or reward your puppy. So for example, if I know somebody's coming to the door, I'm going to have them text ahead of time so I'm ready. I'm going to have my leash, I'm going to have my treats ready so that when somebody approaches, I'm ready to be at a distance, rewarding my puppy for being quiet, being calm. I might work some sits and work on teaching my puppy
That was
right from
excellent.
This is a great example, and this is what a great.
Also, Steve's timing is really. Can you? Are you able to back it up like 15 seconds? Yeah. Because you can see this dog is about to burst out of its skin, and Steve is so quick to get that reinforcement in that he really prevented this dog from making. Shall I say, he was so proactive. He really prevented the dog from making errors, and the average person would be slow here. They would let the dog get up, and then
So-
they'd have to correct the dog,
Yeah,
where he's being
100%.
so quick. This is such a great example for us to copy.
Well, and if you have a dog who goes crazy when somebody knocks on the door, rings the doorbell, comes in your home, maybe it's a family member who comes home from school or whatever, what a great training opportunity that you have. And it's so simple. All you have to do is something
Also,
like this.
one more thing is, what we're doing here is we have dog on leash, we have some rewards ready, we have the dog in a controlled position already.
Yeah.
What's not happening is somebody's knocking on the door and the dog's already jumping and barking at the door,
Yeah.
or they're halfway in the other house and they just come burning and they're barking. We are setting the dog up, so before we even bring in the distraction of the person coming in, we've set the tone. So we're already ahead of the game.
So I also want to bring up the idea, and we talked about this with a lot of students and people. We're in such a great puppy training, dog training era because if we have friends coming over, when the kids come home or when you're coming home and your spouse is in the inside, you can phone or text when you get in the driveway. Say, hey, I'm just outside.
T-minus 15 seconds. Be
Right.
ready.
Yeah, let's set up this training scenario. And you have so many opportunities to recreate that, startle response, or like someone coming home or ringing in the doorbell. It's such a great opportunity. Okay, cut back.
I'm ready to be at a distance, rewarding my puppy for being quiet, being calm. I might work some sits
Good
and
dog.
work on teaching my puppy right from the beginning not to get overexcited and rush and jump all over everybody that come in the door. Now, for reactive training, that means that if I'm a little slow to get control and, the puppy happens to wiggle on my
Oh,
hands
boy.
and get to somebody, I need to make sure that I have a way to work through that exercise quickly before my puppy gets a long time of self-rewarding. Hi, babe. So if my puppy rushes the door and I have a leash on, I can easily stop my puppy and I can diffuse the situation very quickly rather than letting my puppy rehearse for weeks and weeks on end, rushing to the door, barking, jumping on people.
Okay, we haven't really talked about it much.
Jumpy dogs there.
We haven't talked about it much. It should be part of what you see on screen, but we talked about a leash or a line. If you have a puppy at home right now and you're not using a house line or maybe a leash with the end cut off of it, you are putting yourself at a great disadvantage, especially if you're here watching a video titled 6 Common Puppy Training Mistakes and you're thinking like, am I making one of these mistakes? I hope I don't ruin things. If you're not using some management tool like a house line or a leash with your puppy in the house all the time, you are making one of these big mistakes. So I can't stress the importance of this enough. When you have a management tool like a house line on your puppy, it allows you to leap into action when something like that happens. It allows you to stop them from picking up a pill that's fallen on the floor or whatever. Maybe they're nipping and biting at you. It allows you to gain control very quickly, and it allows you to train them so that you're not on the defensive all the time. It also stops that kind of stuff from being a game. You're probably a lot of fun when they steal a sock or something and they run away. All of a sudden they're the leader. You're chasing them around trying to not allow them to eat whatever it might be. So using a house line or a leash with the loop cut off is really advantageous. It's again, if this is number 1, actually puppy house line might be number 1, then this is number 2 or vice versa. 4-strand round braid for those extra energetic puppies. I know we talked a little bit about those energetic dogs. That's why we built out V2 of this house line. Look at or the Puppy Tug. Look at it.
It's gorgeous.
I am pumped about this thing. Anyway, okay.
You know who just joined us?
Who's that?
Mr. Dan Luton.
Lots of links, Luton. He
Yeah.
was late. Oh yeah.
Dan, I want to know:
that.
did Betsy graduate Puppy Essentials? Is she a Puppy Essentials graduate now?
Oh, very exciting.
Oh, I think I read. Oh, she did.
That's
Yay.
something that we take all our puppies through our programs.
Oh, yeah.
It's so advantageous.
All the programs, all the levels, every
for all the
dog.
structured training.
So fun.
Congratulations, Dan and Betsy, on Puppy Essentials graduation.
If
Okay.
you don't know who Betsy is, she's the current
you'll
star of our channel at the moment.
That's right.
Our good friend
Puppy series.
Dan, who's part of our studio. Him and his family just got a new puppy, and we've been able to use her for all of our videos right now. So we're doing a brand new puppy series starring Betsy, and she's a little golden retriever puppy.
Classic. Dan says she spun a basketball on her finger as a trick to finish the class off and show off her skills.
Wow.
Totally makes sense.
That's incredible.
Puppies.
I will have to see that in person.
Yeah. Let's talk about the 6th common mistake that so many new dog
what?
owners make. Ready?
I'm ready.
Puppies love rewarding themselves, and often it's for doing the wrong things. So whether it's chewing the furniture or potty
This is
training
Betsy, by the
accidents,
way.
we're going to talk
This
about
puppy,
how we can.
let's all congratulate. Let's thumbs up the video. This is the puppy that just graduated Puppy Essentials tonight. You guys are in real time. You're seeing it live.
Their puppies
This was
up so
before
that
she
we're
took the
rewarding
class.
This is before she took class. Yeah, this is an older video. But
She's really young here.
them for doing the right things.
Now, I've found a few things that Mackenzie finds rewarding, and one of the things that I want to make sure that happens anytime I bring that puppy home, especially in that first week, is that I control all those rewarding things. Puppies find lots of things naturally rewarding, and dogs will also do what is naturally rewarding to them. And oftentimes, those rewarding things are far away from us. They could be chewing on the couch around the corner, or running to that back bedroom, or that living room with the vacuum marks on the carpet that nobody goes into. All of those places are great places for puppies, but we need to make sure that we are either giving permission or supervising when they are in those areas. If they find that chewing that couch is very valuable, it will be something that they continue to do over and over and over again. This not only speaks to things like chewing, but it also speaks to things like house training. I want to have eyes on this puppy 100% of the time, so that if I start to see any inclination of her needing to go to the bathroom, I can scoop her up, take her outside, give her a chance to go outside, praise her when she does, and it avoids a lot of those accidents in the house. Speaking of house training, one of the things that's important to note is we've been working with this puppy for 10 or 15 minutes now, and puppies tend to go to the bathroom often. I want to make sure I'm super aware of that. I want to make sure I have all of my stuff ready to go, that we can just pop right out the door, take advantage of the opportunity. When she goes outside, we're gonna give her a chance to go pee.
so this is a good one. This is a great pro tip. Like, be ready.
Yeah.
If you think it's time for your puppy to go outside, get your shoes on,
Get
or
ahead
have your
of
shoes
the-
readily available. Maybe you wear some slip-ons or whatever, but be ready to
Crocs.
go out that door.
Get yourself some Crocs.
Absolutely.
Ken loves Crocs, everybody.
No, I'll show you.
He really
In fact,
loves them.
So we travel about 26.
I'm being sarcastic, by the way.
26
I love
kilometers
Crocs. He
on the
makes
train
fun
to
of
get
me.
here, but I leave these guys. I leave these guys in my locker here at the train station, and I have that key with a big plastic thing that doesn't really make sense, but it's at every train station. I leave these guys in there, but they're great for puppy time. You know, you can slip them on, slip them off. They're great. Anyway.
One of the first things that we can't let our puppy learn in that first week home is that it's okay to go to the bathroom in the house. So I'm going to be super aware of how much she's been doing, how long it's been since she's gone to the bathroom, and I'm going to take her out often as I can to give her as many opportunities as she can to make the right choice. So we're outside, I've got my line on. Oh, we're in the snow. Have you seen snow, girl? We're going to get sniffy stuff. And I'm just going to stand and be boring and supervise and really keep an eye on, does she actually go to the bathroom? Sometimes we take them out, we put them down, they don't go to the bathroom, and we take them back inside and think, okay, they must not have gone. But puppies get distracted really easily. You can see she's looking at the road, she's checking out the snow, she's looking at all of these things. So I'm just gonna give her a minute or two to go to the bathroom. Now I've got my leash in my...
Is anyone in the chat tonight, are you struggling with puppy house training? Is that something that you're trying to work on? I know a lot of people, the challenge is they say, they'll go out with their puppy and they'll be like, well, they didn't go. I bring them back inside and right away they have an accident on the floor. This is something that we can help you with. We actually have lots of free videos on, but we can also coach you and help you to be more successful with that in a hurry, to take that potty training time down from like 6 weeks of buying 13 rolls of paper towel every week. We can shrink that way down and help you to be more successful more quickly.
Line on so that she can't get too far away. Good girl. And I'm just going to keep a close eye and see what happens here. Now I'm trying to be a little bit boring as she does this. I'm trying not to distract her too much, but I do kind of want to keep her moving. I want that body moving so she happens to remember that she does need to go pee. So she's getting a little sniff now, so we're going to wait and see what happens. Come on, girl, you can do it. But again, with all the sights and smells, hey, puppers.
This is really common for puppies, especially if you're like trying to get them to go potty in a new place. Like for this puppy, this was probably, I would suspect, her first time at this location. Yeah. And so it's pretty normal for puppies to be a little bit distracted. And often what happens is people will just follow their puppy all over the place and let them walk all over. But you can see Steve is specifically standing in one area to kind of decrease the amounts of distractions. But I think that's a really good tip about, you want to keep the puppy moving per se, but you yourself don't necessarily want to be walking all over, because sometimes it will just cause your dog to continue being distracted. So if you can kind of park yourself somewhere and just move a little bit, that can sometimes quicken the process. And I don't know whether Steve's going to mention this or not, but for me, I'm not going to stand out there for like 10 minutes waiting for this to happen. If my puppy doesn't go after a few minutes because they're too distracted, they obviously don't have to go that bad. I will scoop my puppy up, take them inside, maybe pop them in their crate for just a couple minutes, and then knowing that my puppy probably has to go potty, I'll proactively get the puppy out of the crate and immediately go back outside. What I'm not going to do is come back in the house and just let my puppy roam around again, because there's a 99.999% chance that they're probably then going to have an accident, especially if they're not trained yet to ask me that they have to go outside. So keep that in mind.
Well, also, and this goes back to point 3, we've talked about the 3 Ps, practice, proof, and prepare, removing distractions. But number 3, giving your puppy too much freedom, not managing the freedom correctly. This is exactly when those problems get worse. Because you think, okay, now we just came back inside, I'll give him a second to stretch his legs, and he squats.
And then you get frustrated. Well, it could have been very easily prevented.
100%. Yeah, for sure.
I've got that line on so she can't go too far away. Hooray, good girl. And let's just see if she can go to the bathroom here. Good girl. Go on and go. So it looks like she may not have to go to the bathroom right now, although I'm pretty sure she probably still does. There's just too many exciting things going on. But I can tell you, one of the things that you need to keep in mind at this point, because one of the biggest mistakes is we go back inside and we just let the puppy continue on with its day. That is where a lot of the house training accidents I love.
It's like you heard what I said.
It's like a common problem that we talk about often, because people keep struggling with it. We get it.
And to happen because they don't think they need to go, and puppies go back inside, and because there's less of that distraction like there is out here right now, their brain goes back to, oh yeah, I needed to go to the bathroom. And often when our back is turned, that's when those accidents happen. So I'm actually going to take Mackenzie inside And I'm gonna pop her into her crate. She's gonna hang out there, and then I'm gonna try again.
I honestly
Maybe 5
didn't
or 10
watch
minutes.
this video ahead of time, guys, even though I just said that.
Yeah.
It's just that's what we do. That's how we work through that problem.
Absolutely. So, managing, rewarding the right things, rewarding the right way is such a powerful opportunity that you have as a new dog owner, a new puppy owner, to be successful. It's also really common for people to miss these moments, for people to give their puppy too much freedom, for people to miss when their puppy goes to the door. Twice now I think we've seen that. It's a really important moment for your puppy to learn that if they do this thing, they get something in return.
Yeah.
Or your adult dog. Doesn't matter who they are. Kayl mentioned that we're talking about big picture ideas here. We're diving deep into sort of the strategy stuff. So keep that in mind as you're seeing your problems or you're thinking through a situation. If this, then that. If your dog does this behavior, what are you going to do and how can you be ready for it?
Yeah.
Shayna,
also, just for interest's sake, we don't have snow on the ground all of the time.
No.
That was an old video. Right now, it's
not that old though.
It's
last
gorgeous.
week we had snow on the ground.
Not really.
Oh yeah, we did.
But people think that we live in igloos over here, and it's actually it was beautiful. I walked in a sweatshirt today.
Yeah. Okay. Shayna mentions in one of your videos, Kayl, you mentioned that your new puppy pees twice and poops once in the morning. What a help to know that. Yeah, it's good. You write down these things. It helps you build out.
I have
a plan.
another dog that pees once and poops twice.
Yeah.
There you go.
Balances things
Yeah,
out.
you just get to learn their system.
The 6 common
schedule.
puppy training mistakes that new dog owners make. They're rushing through the steps. They're practicing in too overwhelming or busy an environment. They're giving their puppy too much freedom or not managing it well. They're not managing their puppy's energy correctly. We have a million videos on the channel here and across a few different channels that we have that talk about how to exercise your puppy quickly. Exercise your puppy so that you're not losing relationship with them, so that you're not getting dragged down the street or going for a walk with a puppy who isn't ready for that kind of thing. We have a million ideas for how to deal with that. Being proactive. So many people are on their back heel, on their back foot, back heel, on their heels, whatever the case may be.
I don't think any of that was right.
Are struggling because they're not planning ahead. They're not thinking ahead to what could happen here. What's the worst case situation? What's the best case situation? And we need to be mindful to reward the right things. This is how you speed up your training. This is how your puppy starts to think oh, if I do this, if I sit while you're standing there maybe making breakfast, if I sit beside you, I might get rewarded for that. If I look at you, give you attention when there's something distracting in that environment, I might get rewarded for that. So that it's really important that you're rewarding some of these things in your dog's life. And if you need more specific advice that's exactly right for you and your puppy, you can always join us in our training facility for our Puppy Essentials or Life Skills programs or online. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can join us for our online training.
We also welcome visitors as well. So if you are in the area or if you're interested to come out and watch classes to see what we do, or if you want to watch other things that we offer at McCann's, we have obedience classes, we have rally obedience, we have parkour classes, we have our dock diving and swimming lessons. Our pool is about to open in a few weeks. We have agility.
It's like a playground.
There's so many
so excited
things
about where we are with all this
to
stuff.
watch and see to help you get inspired with your dog.
To do more with your dog, absolutely. And over the course of this show, a lot of puppies tomorrow or the next day or however long shipping takes, maybe a little bit longer because it's a holiday weekend, but next week we'll be getting this brand new Puppy Tug. It's only been available for an hour. We've already sent or sold a bunch of them that are ready to go out tomorrow. I'm so pumped about this, our Puppy Tug now. I just couldn't be more excited about it. So, do you have anything else you want to add for our new puppy or new dog owners?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Have a wonderful Easter weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
For those of you who are celebrating that.
Great family time. Maybe you can include your dog, but you don't have to. Maybe it's a great opportunity for your puppy to be in the crate while family comes over and then slowly introduce them to the great training opportunity.
Absolutely.
Got to see the training opportunity in all of it. Most importantly, with all of the teaching, all of the training, all of the things that we've talked about tonight, the rest, my friends, well, that is up to you. Happy Easter.